Greetings. Hey, it's Susie Q here. We're going to be working with interdimensional phenomenon. And I think maybe a lot of us have already had it or had different experiences, but I'm really looking at some of these curiosities back from September of 2015. And of course, 2015 was a big year for me from the first day of 2015. Everything just started, going in a different way for me. All right, but we're going to focus on particularly this one event. And so of course, we know that there's been all these gifts that came in and all these energies that came in, and all of it was kind of a stinker. And then I really didn't want to do all that, but that's what I got. I got a lot of new energy. But we're going to go back to September of 2015. And back then, there were two different eclipse seasons. And one of them was at the early part of September, and that was a partial solar eclipse, and that was across the pond, but of course we all kind of feel that energy. And also with another lunar eclipse, it was at the end of September, and it was right there in the United States. So a lot of things happen with what we call astrology or the stars or the constellations. All of these things are impacting a person to have a different experience. Some of it could be, receiving new information and then letting go of stuff, So, and sometimes that gets a little bit messy. But in September, I had this beautiful guidance, and I call it interdimensional phenomenon, is that I had this experience where I wanted to uh, get this work of Eric Pearl, the reconnection energy. And a friend gave me a session, and we had a wonderful time. So she brought her massage table into my space, and I just, I'm a yogi. I'm highly, sensitive and aware, and easily going into a meditative state. So I wasn't sleeping. I was consciously aware and just feeling the vibration. And what I learned from at the very end of the session, she was about 10 or 15 feet away from me. So there was nothing touching me. The practitioner was about 10 to 15 feet away. All right, so this is what happened. So when we started to go into the session, I just kind of relaxed into it. And all of a sudden, I had some different types of beings that were around me. There were three on both sides, and then one at the crown and one at the feet. And what was interesting is that I could see them, but they really didn't they had an appearance of a face, but there was no, distinction. It just was a face with nothing else there. And then they didn't have arms, so these were like little energy beings or something or technology. I can't even really discern what it was. And then I just started feeling into all of the energy that they were bringing in. And so all of them were exactly the same. And then just recently, I kind of was thinking, they're all the same. So like maybe a couple of days ago, I realized maybe they're not a being, but maybe there's some sort of a technology that was there to assist me. And it's hard to understand because that was back in 2015, and now I'm reconciling more deeply with some of the interdimensional phenomenon that has been with me for a while. So the more I go deeper with it and kind of talk about it, I kind of get more guidance. So anyway, so there was three on both sides, one at the foot and one at the crown. And so what was starting to happen is I was really kind of loving the experience. In a way, it was almost as if I was in a meditative state, or I was next to them or next to these technologies. And so it was really, really interesting. There was a few times where because they didn't have really a body, they had some level of form, and they were all kind of bent over. And whenever they bent over, they all did it in unison. And so some of the energies that they worked on specifically, the first one really was at the very beginning of the session, all the way to the end. There was some sense of that there was something holding my crown or my skull. So I could feel the energy. I thought it was the practitioner, but it wasn't. It was those energies or these energy beings that were holding my skull the whole time, and it felt very comfortable and it felt safe. But initially I thought it was just the practitioner, but that wasn't the case. So it started with the skull was being held the entire time. It was about 40 minutes in a session. And then at another point, I had another being that was on which kind of grabbed my right wrist, and that was infusing some energy. I'm actually feeling it right now too, so it's pretty amazing. But they grabbed my the energy, or that technology grabbed my wrist and brought it up, and then I put my wrist back down. And then there was one other kind of connection with some of the energies in our torso. You know, maybe the heart space, or it was really focusing in. What I noticed was focusing in at the area of the abdominal area, and it was infusing me with electrical currents. So even with the somebody holding my crown up here, I was still feeling the energy, or the electrical energy, and then also moving into that area of the abdomen. So it was all infusing electrical currents into the system. So they were like, maybe sometimes they were like maybe 7 inches or 5 inches of currents going into the body. And that's what I was noticing. So it was pretty spectacular, and it was pretty amazing because for some reason I thought that they were like a being. But again, I've been kind of drawing some of these renderings, and I've got some pictures here. But it basically was, I think, some level of a technology. And I love it when we start looking at new things and just kind of going, I wonder if that's really what's going on. I wonder if, I wonder if. But when we look with the interdimensional phenomenon, we just have to be okay with just accepting, like, maybe there is something else out there. Maybe there is something else that's conspiring to help us to feel lighter in our body, to have a better experience with healing. And it could be all kinds of fields of healing. It could be the healings of the ancestors, the healings of the celestial realms, the healings of our beautiful divinity, whatever that means. But with all these energies, it's really, really spectacular. So that's what I was really feeling when I was there. And I could see from some perspective, it was almost as if I was projected in a different direction, and I could see the event, and then I could also be in the event. I could be all of that, and that's what I was had awareness to. And about the color or the shape, they were, to me, roughly speaking, maybe about 6 foot, but they were all kind of leaned over. It's almost as if they had an abdomen where they could just, lean over. But that's kind of like about what I thought it would be about maybe 6 feet. But all of them were in unison with the work that they were doing. And I don't even know if they were doing it. I think it was just some level of technology that was happening. So, what I found from that is that I didn't know the work of Eric Pearl. I didn't know what reconnection was. I really just met that new person, and I said, I got to do this work. I don't know what you're going to do with me, but I know that that we're going to get some guidance. I just knew it. And she came in and she did it. And she was, again, like 10 or 15 feet away. And what I found later on is that the energies related to the currents of electricity. That was the beginning of my understanding about how to receive messages from my body. So my body started to start working a little bit with electricity. And of course, I wanted to see them again. I wanted to hear them. I wanted to have another experience with those energies or those technologies. And then I just decided, well, I'm just going to work with the electrical currents that happened during the session. And I continued to persevere and go into meditation and see if I could get more electrical currents in my body. And eventually it started from maybe the calf. The calf was when it really started, because I started to get the electrical currents at the calves of both of my legs. And then eventually, over time, because I kept practicing, I kept, wondering, what else can I do to have another experience with this technology or these energies? So that's kind of what I was working with, and that is when I started to have complete Kundalini, meaning I had all of this beautiful boom, 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 yummy energy. But it was a process. So I think this is it for now. I kind of like going on and on, but I wanted to share this with you because there may be some guidance that you have for yourself, and it may be from another source, another state of energy, or another frequency that might assist you with healing. I didn't know that it was going to be a healing event for me. me, but it started me to move into a different direction with my body and accepting electricity and receiving those electric currents as messengers for me. So that's really, I think, what I got from that. So I think that's it for now. It's a lot to talk about. Anyway, we'll see you soon and namaste.